this PWNAGE video is going to be addressed to Bristol Palin. And yes, I know Peach has done a video on this, ZJ has done a video on this, but I feel compelled to throw my own 2 cents in. Now, fair warning, I'm going to sound like I'm kind of rambling a bit in this video because, to put it lightly, Bristol Palin is just not a very good writer. She can't argue really well, so I have to address her point by point, and it might sound like there are a lot of things in an article that don't really make sense or don't have anything to do with the topic at hand, but it gets there. So no matter how slow or how painful this might be, I hope you all bear with me, especially since I'm the one that has to do this. So Miss Palin first starts off her article by talking about how Barack Obama's position on gay marriage supposedly evolved when he was talking to his wife and daughter. Thankfully, Miss Palin happened to provide the exact quote of which she took way out of context, and nowhere in that quote does it say that Barack Obama was inspired to make a political change in policy based on talking to his wife and children. So Miss Palin then draws this very interesting comparison between how Barack Obama supposedly makes politically motivated changes because of talking to his wife and children, and she compares that to how people ask women who run for office, like Michelle Bachmann, that if they would be submissive to their husbands and do what their husbands say. So Miss Palin somehow drew the conclusion that Barack Obama was inspired to take this pro-gay stance because of talking to his wife and children. And then she draws this comparison, somewhat poorly, to how, well, it's so unfair because when Republican women run for office, they're often asked if they're submissive to their husbands, and if they were, then okay, then they're laughed at, but then Barack Obama is not laughed at when he listens to his wife and children. I don't know where she got Republican women from, because I'm sure liberals get asked the exact same questions, but anyways, there's no proof either way for her to support her argument, so I'll just take that as true, okay? Republicans do tend to be the more religious of the two, most Republicans being, of course, Christian. So, being Christian, you would expect Republican women to follow what it says in the Bible. And what does it say about women in the Bible? Well, I'm sure you know, Miss Palin, because you yourself have read the Bible, have you not? Since you claim to be a Christian. So, you yourself can attest to what I'm about to say when I say that women in the Bible aren't exactly given a stellar position. They're expected to be silent, obedient, and essentially do what their husbands tell them to do. So, if you're wondering why it might not really be an unfair question for people to ask Republican women only, apparently, if they're submissive to their husbands in their decision-making, it's because their religion can impact their decisions on policy, which can affect the entire country. So I think that's a fair question to ask, don't you? First of all, it's like a complete non sequitur that you draw this really stupid comparison between Barack Obama supposedly consulting his wife and kids to a Republican woman consulting her husband, when that's what it was mandated in the Bible. And by the way, Barack Obama is Christian as well, so. And secondly, not only is it a non sequitur, it's a complete distortion of Barack Obama's position. He has openly stated long before this that he was pro-gay, that he supported gay rights, especially the right to marry. Long before he made this quote. So, I don't know where the fuck you're coming from. But my favorite part of this article has to be near the end. And there's no way I can do it justice except by reading it to you guys. While it's great to listen to your kids' ideas, there's also a time when dad simply needs to be dads. In this case, it would have been helpful for him to explain to Malia and Sasha that while her friend's parents are no doubt lovely people, that's not a reason to change thousands of years of thinking about marriage. Or that, as great as her friends may be, we all know that in general kids do better growing up in a mother-father home. Ideally, fathers help shape their kids' worldview. Where do I begin? So, right off the bat, we're arguing from tradition, and you all know how well that works, because what was right 1,000 years ago has to be right now, right? So, slavery was right 1,000 years ago, so why don't we have slavery now? Answer me that, Bristol Palin, because that's the exact type of argumentation you're trying to use when you say, well, marriage was this way 1,000 years ago, it should be this way now. Well, I don't see why we shouldn't keep slavery, or racism, or sexism, you know, all of these barbaric practices that we held 1,000 years ago that were perfectly alright, now we find morally reprehensible. So if you really want to argue from tradition, you'd best know exactly what you're in for. And as for, we all know that kids do better growing up in a mother-father household, who the fuck do you think you are in saying that? First of all, you're not even married, so what the hell? Second of all, you're not a sociologist or any sort of expert on these sort of things. And finally, even if you were both, who the fuck are you to tell two loving people what they can or cannot do, or what two loving people are or are not capable of? Huh? Sometimes I really don't know, and religious people in my audience don't take offense to this, but for those who are religious and who at least support equal rights for gay people, even if you don't agree with them, sometimes, is it just like the fundamentalist religious cults, for lack of a better word, that get to people? Or is it just their own stupidity? Or is it both? Because I think in this case, it's kind of both. May the truth always be heard.